Alright, well, this is Aaron Squire coming to you guys again this week. We've got 2 more weeks and then we're going to be down for a little while. I may or may not have another co-host on, but speaking of co-hosts, we're welcoming back Funktionfails, the very first co-host slash guest on Deck Building with the Squire, back for this episode 58, and we're calling it Functional PVE.
I like it.
Yeah. I have to name the show after somebody, so it might as well be you, right?
Sure, I guess.
So tonight on Deck Building with the Squire, we're going to talk about some of the news, of course, some of the PvE news and things. The 5 Shards top 8. We'll talk about those decks and what we think about what's going on with that stuff. And then finding a team. Some people have been looking for teams. People that want to get a little bit more competitive, and they're saying they're having a hard time getting those competitive people. And then finally, the last thing, we're going to go, of course, and do a deck doctor. This time, we're doing an Azurefate M.O.L.E deck. Yes, I was specifically requested this deck by, I think it was Kismet or something like that. I forget what his name is. It's actually on the deck, and he will be getting a draft pack, 3 packs of cards for suggesting this deck. And yep, just make sure that you're always thinking about what kind of decks you might want me to work on and submitting them on the comments on YouTube or through any other of the means that I have, any of these social media, and I will try to put them in a list somewhere and keep up with all of that.
That's pretty sweet.
So Function, you didn't get to play in the tournament last weekend.
No.
So tell us what you've been up to lately. What have you been doing?
I've been trying to play in all the tournaments, but last weekend, yeah, I was down for the count. I was celebrating my birthday last weekend, and we're going to a Blackhawks game and doing other stuff. Yeah,
well,
fun times.
But yours was on Saturday, right?
Yeah, it was actually on Saturday.
Yeah.
So, and so instead, I just played board games with a bunch of friends and had a nice day, and that was pretty sweet. But I didn't get to play, so I was still watching and rooting for my friends who were playing in it, and hopefully I'll be able to play in the next one, because I really wanted to qualify for like the the end of season finale.
Oh yeah, me too. But I've been doing horribly bad.
I've got my work
broken even every time.
Yeah,
What would you have run?
What would I have run? I probably would have been looking at Blood Diamond again.
Mm-hmm.
There was I feel bad. There was a deck that we were testing, and no, you know what? I think at the end of the day, I would have just run Blood Diamond again, because I've been running that a lot lately. I've had a lot of success with it, and in hindsight, this obviously wasn't as true, but I still predicted there was going to be a lot of Gore Feast played, and there might have been, but it just wasn't. None of them really made the top 8 or anything like that, prevalently. And so my deck was kind of structured to beat that. It loses a lot to like straight blood control or straight sapphire control, or even like diamond blood decks that are more control heavy than me. Mine was more of like a mid-range deck.
Right.
And
yeah, ones that are running like Relentless.
Well, not really Relentless. Like I wasn't running Xenthoth's Inquisitor in the deck for the most part. And
I think he's a 1 of or a 2 of these days. There's just so many things that just take care of him too easily.
Yeah. Like I like Wakizashi Ambusher a lot more right now.
Oh yeah.
And mainly because in the Gore Feast matchup, it straight up kills the guy, so they won't be able to Gore Feast with you and everything.
Yeah.
Whereas the Inquisitor doesn't. And then on the flip side, Inquisitor, like the one matchup where you really do want it is against Vampire Kings. Like the Vampire Kings get wrecked by Xenthoth's Inquisitor, but that's more of a mirror match case.
So let's move on to some of the news. So we've got the news up right now. We've got the VIP tournament this weekend, starting tomorrow. So make sure that you guys are getting out to that if you still have VIP tickets. I won't be out there because I've already used up all of mine. I didn't extend or gain. I didn't buy any extra VIP, which is probably best for me because I am pretty busy these days with school and building my game and doing the show and everything else, kids and all that. But yeah, make sure you're getting out there so you have a chance at your Gore Master and your Succulent Cluckodon alternate images. I actually would like to see Succulent Cluckodon and Gore Master see a lot more competitive play. I think that they're definitely decks that they could go into, although Gore Master feels like an all-in type of card.
Yeah, Gore Master is definitely kind of like you said, all-in. It's very like you have to have it in order for it to get there with the Boulder Toss. But kind of one of the nice things with that deck is you can kind of wait until you have the turn where you just do 60 damage in one turn and play it that turn,
Right.
You don't really
Or
need to swing with it.
Swing with Crush or whatever. Yeah.
But speaking of which, I mean, Kaneda was jumping in here in chat. There was the Hex Primal Cup, which I did pretty well in, and I was running a Gore Master deck in that one, and that was very powerful. I was surprised other people weren't running Gore Master, because I expected that card to be really good, and it was pretty good.
Well, yeah, we saw in that deck that was pretty much the ownage for that tournament towards the end there. Let's see, we got the VIP. Yeah, we just talked about. Next item on the docket, we've got the Design a Card contest at the very bottom here. You can click on the, if you go to the Hex CCG website, hexccg.com, and then the most recent update, which is the one in the center, and then down at the bottom, we've got the Design a Card contest. So make sure that, you know, if you've ever wanted to design a card, make sure you're checking that out and submitting your ideas to that. I'm guessing it's a forum post it's going to redirect you to. Yeah, it's going to the forums.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I actually, when I was at the Hex dinner, I had a knight that I showed to Dan Clark, and basically it was a lot like another leveling card from another card game. But the cool thing about it was it actually leveled up all the other knights in your deck. So, like, it started off as a Squire.
Oh, I like it.
And then you become a knight, and then you become a questing knight, and then you become like a Grail knight.
I like that.
Yeah, and then each different iteration. So the cool thing I thought about it was when he became a Knight Errant. When he became a Knight Errant, like when you played him, you could search your deck for, like, you know, a 1-cost troop. But when you level him up to like the questing knight, he loses that ability. So you kind of have to make decisions, and that way he can go into different deck types and stuff. So just an idea. So have you ever thought about any cards that you would design? And don't tell me you would make a 1-cost like 2020, because I had someone tell me that once. That was
nothing ridiculous like that.
Annoying.
I think there were, like, what were some of the cards I had come up with? Like, a while back I came up with a whole ton of different cards that were fun. I think one of them was like a hot potato artifact. It was probably similar to Inferno. I think every turn that you could either
draw a card or something, and then
I think it was more like it exploded eventually, and when it exploded, it would do damage to the player. But then you could do a push your luck thing with it when you were controlling it to if it did explode,
kind of like
it would explode on your opponent.
A little bit.
Kind of like what?
Kind of like Mind Games. That's the PvE card that's like pick 10 or 5, and then your opponent tries to pick what you picked, and if they pick the wrong thing, then they take the damage.
Yeah, I guess it was really similar to that. Like, I was kind of going with a hot potato aspect, and I guess that's kind of what the Mind Games was. There were some other ones. Like, I wanted to see. I really like Escalation, and I think it would have been fun if it was a draftable mechanic. So maybe
make a common escalation card.
Common
like maybe
escalation card.
Maybe an escalation troop where, like, it just kind of like the Pack Raptor is basically an escalation troop.
What I was thinking with this one is one where, like, rather than the Ragefire escalates other Ragefires, it would be something other than escalation. We'll call it a momentum, right? And when you play a momentum card, it boosts all the rest of the momentum cards in your deck just the next time you play it. So, like, say you had one for Crackling Wit or something, right? And it would say the next time you play a momentum card, that card also draws you an extra card, or that card also does an extra damage to an opponent. And so it's kind of boosting the next one you play.
To answer MTT Gamer, I believe that the Mind Games card is still in the game. It's just a PvE card and it hasn't been released yet. That's what I believe, but I could be wrong about that. So moving on, we've got some real quick before we move on to the tournaments, the Hex tournaments. We want to talk about bug reports real quick. I haven't been doing as many of these lately because I've been really busy with things, but on the flip side, Funktionfails has been doing some due diligence, and so he's got an announcement.
Yeah, so Ossuary and myself have been given moderator status on just the bug report forums, and we're basically going to be trying to keep them as tidy as possible. And the real goal is that we're going to try to make the communication to people looking to see if a card is bugged as simple and like one-step process as possible. We're going to try to make it a little bit more approachable for everybody, and also keep the bug reports themselves a little bit more organized. Like there's a lot of duplicate reports on there, so we're going to be merging them together.
Or
And,
deleting. Or yeah, you can delete them and then message the person, say, hey, this is a duplicate report.
I think we don't want to discourage people from making reports, so I think if you end up deleting them or locking them, the person's like, oh, well, why was this one locked? And they might have actually said something relevant that was missed in the original bug report. So in the duplicate one, maybe they had a better explanation of it. And if you just merge the two, which is a function you can do on the forums when you have the mod privileges, is you can just combine the two threads so it only appears under one title. Now all the information that was previously submitted is still available in case there was something important in there.
So moving on to the Hex Open Brigadon, it's still on the 28th, no more movement there. It's going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to cost 5 plat, but 500 plat, sorry, not 500 plat. I don't even look at the zeros, that's what happens there. And so make sure to get out there. I know that some people are that puts people off a little bit, and that kind of makes this maybe a little bit more of a competitive atmosphere where you won't have as many people dropping, I would hope.
Yeah.
Due to that cost, people want to get their money back, or at least feel like they're getting their money back. So I really do encourage people to come out there and support these guys, because they don't have to put on these tournaments. It takes a lot of time and effort to put on a good tournament and run things well. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, make sure to get out there and support them. Next weekend I'll be out there playing and doing horribly again, and Kismet not liking me and all that fun stuff. So, but if there's a specific deck that you want to see me play, like post on this video and let me know before next week. And the people that post the most different, the most of the same one, that's the one I'll play. How about that? That'll be fun.
You're gonna end up playing a Trial of Fates deck.
So, but it has to be okay. But here's the catch: it has to be one of the decks that at least top 16 in any tournament. In any tournament this season. How about that? And I will play that deck. I'll play any deck as long as it is one of the ones that top 16. And if I do well with it, let's say if I do at least 5 and 3. I haven't been able to do that this season. If I do at least 5 and 3. In an effort not to break Aaron Squire's bank for this contest, here's how we're going to do this. I've got 20 packs of set 2 to give away, and I'll give away 1 primal. So I still want you to post on this video that basically the deck you want me to play has to be a top 16 deck, and I have to do well with it. I do not want to have any favoritism either, so it'll be a random people will randomly get the packs if they pick a deck that I'm winning with, basically. So if that's the deck, if the majority rules deck is the one that I am doing well with, I have to do at least five wins and 3 losses to give away prizes, and they'll be randomly given out. I've got 20 packs, so I'll give away one of those packs to up to 20 packs, and then I've got an additional primal, so that's 21 packs to give out. So last time I did this, people kind of went crazy, and it was good. I did pay everybody out, but I want to make sure I'm not going to break the bank and I'm not overestimating again. So that's the way we're going to play it this time. So make sure to comment on what deck you'd like to see me play next week at the Hex Open, and that's the deck that I'll play. So until next time, this is Aaron Squire signing off, saying God bless you and your families. Trying to rage too much out there.
Sounds like a pretty good deal.
That's a pretty good deal, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do some good contests for you guys, because I will be on hiatus for a full month. So I think that's a good one. Make sure not to miss next week, because we will have some pretty good giveaways. We will do some good ones tonight as well. Yeah, make sure not to miss next week as well. But I think that'll be a good contest to get the blood flowing with some comments on the video. We'll do that.
Yeah,
I'll remind you guys at the end. Just came up with that off the top of my head.
But
yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything you want to, like, what are you expecting to see come out there? Obviously, we're going to see Gore Feast. I'm really kind of excited to play Eye of Creation, but then again, there's the Havoc deck that he was running with the Azurefate. I like that one.
Well, I would say, like, I don't know how much Gore Feast we're going to see, and mainly because a lot of people are running Heatwave, which kind of, it's very, very good against Gore Feast right now. And you know, if you're gonna go like flavor of the week, I think a lot of people are kind of bored of playing Gore Feast. I know I was never having a whole lot of fun with it. I liked
Right.
some of the other decks out there, and I think you know, it'll probably come back in full force, but I think it's a little bit early for it too. Um, I would say that. Otherwise, yeah, it is kind of cool to have a tournament that actually has an entry fee because you know they have to be able to recoup their prize pool
Hmm.
in some way, and they have to be able, you know, can't come all, totally out of their own pocket, and so that's kind of fun. I did pretty well in the very first one, so hopefully I can do pretty well in this one and qualify for the end of the season finale, which is always exciting.
Right. Well, and they are two different tournament providers. So like how
Yeah,
well you do, and you might do really well in Hex Text, but not do well in Five Shards or vice versa. And
yeah.
then, you know, you're still in the finals on one as opposed to the other. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's move on to the Ruby Cup top 8 deck list. We were just talking about these for a minute.
Hmm.
So first up, so the tournament winner was Sirius. I thought it was Strife because I just read the first one. I was like, oh, they put the winning deck on top. Not
Hmm.
true. It's actually Sirius, and we will get to his deck in a minute. But I'm excited about this one. I tested this right after I saw this list, and basically it came out that someone figured out Eye of Creation, how to like make it work well enough to do well, obviously, in a tournament. Some of the interesting things in here are Squirrel Titan kind of made a comeback. We haven't seen
Hmm.
Squirrel Titan see a lot of play in a long time. It's playing a lot of big troops, so you could have really bad hands where all you do is draw really big troops and no ramp, or you could
Yeah.
have hands where you draw a lot of ramp and no big troops. Hopefully you'll draw at least something, like if you draw an Eye of Creation with a lot of ramp. The other big problem I'm seeing with this deck is it's like a turn 5 kind of deck. You know, it's
Hmm.
like turn 5 is you have like 6 resources in play, hopefully, and you can Eye of Creation then, or just cast something for 6, or hopefully just hold on a little bit longer with like your Wrathwood Master Moss or something like that. That's the
Yeah.
big issue I'm seeing.
And he was kind of all in. It looks like on the Eye creation. On the Strife one, it doesn't look like he was actually running Heatwave in there. And
He
like
has
I
it in
really like
reserves,
Heatwave.
and yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
the reason
Down
why is
there.
because, and it's obvious, the reason why is because Eye of Creation doesn't hit anything except for troops, and so
Sure.
like it's one less troop, and it's one of those things you side in against Gore Feast,
Yeah.
anyways.
I liked having the Heatwave's main deck.
I think he probably
Right.
would. He probably sides in Heatwave, Cannon Volley, and Snapdragon actually for that matchup.
Maybe. Yeah.
All of that. That's a lot of siding in, and then basically he just removes like all of his big dudes. So, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to ask him to see what he's doing. He's also playing Thorntongue Snapdragon, which we haven't seen get any play really.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been times in these tournaments where I had something in the reserves and I thought I was going to use it like a lot, and then as things went on, I just never even brought it in. So I'm interested, like how often he actually brought that Thorntongue
Yeah.
Snapdragon in.
I
If
mean,
at
I
all.
guess it handles things, even if you don't have the 4 wild in play, it does handle the Gore Feast pretty well as long as it's not getting bounced. But chances are pretty good it's getting bounced.
You know what? I'll say this. So last weekend, I mean, before we go into the rest of the deck list, if we want to talk about them a little bit too, but you're seeing a lot more wild played. Like
Yeah.
nobody was playing wild 2 weeks ago, but last week they definitely were. Um, if going into the next couple of weeks worth of tournaments, you want to be prepared, is start playing Isidore because Isidore is really good against wild, especially if they're running Philcape, and Philcape's really good right now. So you kind of get some action in there where you start stealing their guys every turn with the Philcape and Isidore going on from your opponent. I mean that they're playing Philcape.
Right,
And
yeah, Isidore just keeps getting bigger and they can't really deal with them very effectively.
yeah, he just keeps putting zombies into play, and then they get reverted into whatever awesome troop that your opponent had in play
Right.
before. So
Right. Moving on, you've got Havoc's deck. This is another exciting deck that I'm pretty excited to try out. I haven't actually put this one together yet, but he's basically running a wild Sapphire deck where he's got the senseis in there for the just cantrip through. But interestingly enough, he figured out, I think, probably one of the best uses for Azurefate Sorceress, which is the Spell Shield. I kind of knew that was going to be one thing, and then he gives it Flight, which is kind of interesting. So it becomes this 2/2 Flight troop, which is pretty good because most of the time you don't want to block with it anyways. You just want to attack with it. But on top of that, it's
Yeah.
going to buff your Master Moss, which means you got the Mossling. It's just fine. Plus they fly. It's going to buff your Reese as well if he hits the table, and Reese is also really good. I think.
Yeah, I really like Reese.
Yeah, he's just really good. He's got the Mirror Knight in there because, you know, card draw and all that stuff. He's got the Eldritch Dreamer with the card draw, so you have Eldritch Dreamer plus Flight plus Spell Shield. Seems really good. Yeah, just a lot of really good stuff in there that he's playing. Plus he's playing the control aspect of the counter magic, Oaken Ceremony to find things, and then Mastery of Time to just take over the game. Once he's ramped up, because, you know, ramping into Mastery of Time is always a good thing. So it seems like a really solid deck. I'm kind of excited to try it out. I haven't done it yet. Any ideas or, you know, big weaknesses you're seeing here?
Not really. I mean, obviously it was pretty good. He did well with it. And the one thing I would say is, me personally, I really like going 3 colors with stuff like this, where you can add Ruby, just have the Ruby damage on entering play gem with Azurefate, and then you get to do some big time shenanigans with Rastful Master Moss. It'll basically never die.
Yeah, Flight feels pretty vanilla, but at the same time, Flight's still really good. I think
Flight's
that's what
really,
I was looking at.
Yeah, with what he's doing here, since he's running Mastery of Time, Flight becomes extremely good, because if he Masteries of Time on like turn 5, the Wrathwood Master Moss is just going to do a ton of damage. Yeah. Since it has Flight, like, it's just going to get there, and he's going to be in pretty good shape. So I mean, like, it's pretty good. It's compared to what I had previously been running, which was like a 3-color version of this. What he has is a lot more consistent than what I was running, and that was the main reason I didn't bring it to a tournament.
Moving on, we've got Kind Mimes. This is basically another similar deck to the first one we looked at, where it's the Eye of Creation type of deck. The only big change is he went from 1 Eternal Guardian down, or 2 Eternal Guardians down to 1, which I can kind of understand. The thing that's nice about Eternal Guardian is it's hard for your opponent to remove. Obviously, if they're in Diamond, you don't want to attack with it because they could repel it. But for the most part, it's difficult for a lot of decks to deal with, and it just locks up the whole board state until you maybe cast another Eye of Creation or finally play your giant Wrathwood Colossus or something like that. So
yeah, Eye of Creation did pretty well.
Yeah, but it's still pretty much the same deck. He also sided his Heat Waves out. Kind Mime took down Havoc, and Havoc was actually, he mentioned it to me when I was playing against him recently, how he got Eye of Creation, and Kind Mime just drew like the best troops he possibly could to take over board state, and that's obviously going to happen.
Yep.
Probably the biggest thing you want to do versus this deck is, once you're at 3 resources, you got to wait for that big drop. You know, you kind of can't play anything if you're playing Havoc's deck, I would think, if you're sitting on counter magic, that is, because you need to be able to counter that Eye of Creation or that Wrathwood Colossus or whatever. So yep. Moving on, Seiju is running a Sapphire Diamond deck, which is pretty similar to the ones we've seen run before. I believe he called it the Lean Back, or was it who was it that won a tournament with it?
Something like that, yeah. We haven't seen Diamond Sapphire a whole lot recently. It was kind of always there, just not being played a whole lot. And I don't think it was really played a whole lot over the weekend. It's just Seiju happened to do really well with it. And I actually really, really like this deck.
Yeah, it does really well.
I've been running something pretty similar to it. There's some cards that I definitely don't like to run that he's got in there.
Yeah, I don't like the Mirror Knight in here. But
yeah, actually, Mirror Knight is one of the cards I've cut. And I think I've also cut Hope Heart Unicorn and opened those slots up for just a few other elements that were doing well for me. So
yeah. I almost would play like King Gabriel, or maybe a singleton like Judgment or something in here. You know, that could be interesting. But the problem is, like, if you Judgment with like Angel of Dawn plus Soul Marble, you got to be in a bad board state to have to do that. So I mean, it's also pretty clunky to have to do that. So maybe that's not a great thing. Moving on, Sirius, the tournament winner, is basically running a Blood Diamond control with Ruby replacing Blood. We see all the same cards from Blood Diamond control. You got your Angel of Dawn, you've got your Hope Heart Unicorn, your Living Totem. Meek is the new hotness because
I'm all about Meek,
because of how many people are running Gore Feast, Gore Storm. It's quick action speed, basically kills pretty much everything in that deck except for Reese, but Reese doesn't hit the table until turn 6.
Yeah.
And then he's of course got the Soul Marble, and then in Ruby he's going in on a full playset of Burn plus Crackling Bolt, so that's a lot of direct damage he can do to the face if he needs to close out a game. He's also got a Droz Colossal Walker, very interesting choice here, but he's running Dimmin, so he can basically do the trick where he gives it life drain and he can unexhaust it the next turn. Droz hasn't seen a lot of play lately. In fact, the commentators talked about that and how they figured that they would see a comeback on that. So in the playset of Heatwave, which is fine, even with his Living Totems, he can buff those out of range of his Heatwave, so he should be fine there. And yeah, this seems pretty solid. It just it only draws 1 card a turn, but other than that, I mean, obviously you won the tournament, so you must be doing something right.
Yeah, I'm like, honestly, a lot of people are like, oh, I like to have card draw in my deck, and actually, even in like control builds that I've been running right now, which I guess if they don't have card draw, they're probably closer to being mid-range than they are control. Like, I'm totally fine not having card draw if you just have like the average quality of every card that you have in your deck is just that much higher, kind of thing.
Every time you draw a card, you could use a card to draw a card. You could have just simply drawn a card. It's just it's more or less manipulation and making sure that you're getting what you need, and
the card draw helps with your consistency, sure.
Yeah, for sure. Although it didn't really help me that much last weekend. It's just one more thing I didn't really see that much. Plus, things are just so fast right now.
Yeah.
Moving on, Kaldheim, was running a robots deck. This is like the first robots deck we've seen top 8, and
this is my favorite deck out of all top 8.
He's running the Construction Foreman Hex Geode combo, but he doesn't go all in on it. And I think that's a good idea actually, because Hex Geode by itself isn't the greatest card. Gaining a charge. I mean, he's basically trying to play the Construction Foreman to turn Hex Geode into a 3/3 troop, which isn't going to happen that often. You have to draw both cards. So it's best not to have too many of these in the deck. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, like, in the very first cup, I think it was, the Blood Cup? That was the first one after set 2, if I'm not mistaken. There were a lot of people running, like, the Forge Acadic deck, which is very, very similar to this.
Right.
Like, it's really not that much different. And this deck, like I was saying earlier, it's one of my favorite decks that was in last week's tournament. And it's just because, like, the whole deck costs... If you ignore the Tectonic Megahulk, you can build the rest of the deck for like $2, and it just goes to show that like the meta is actually much more wide open than some people would have you believe.
Right.
Really, if you just walk into the tournament with a deck that you're personally really comfortable with and you're playing really well that day, you have a pretty good chance of doing well.
For sure.
The difference between going top 8 and going like top 16, it doesn't come down to much. It doesn't take much more to get there. It takes a little bit more luck, perhaps. I like this. I like that this deck was able to make it.
Obviously, yeah. You got to, like, I was playing Control, and I had 1/4 of the deck was basically removal, and I just did not see anywhere near enough removal last weekend. Just how it is, it's just how things go.
Yeah.
But very interesting deck. Basically running a core of a lot of cheap troops. To come down really early, and then he's got the plans also in here. The typical plans that you see a lot in draft, and he can get them online really quickly and just pound faces with them. The additional thing, the other thing is a lot of these have pretty decent back ends. So Ruby has a hard time with them, and they're all a lot of them are artifacts, which means Blood has a hard time with them. So it's just good.
It's able to put a lot of damage on the table pretty fast, and like besides the Tectonic Megahulks, it totally feels like a draft deck, kind of, doesn't it? Like, I've drafted decks very similar to this.
Yeah. Moving on, Squire ran Tazat, the son of Omak, which, if you guys didn't know, he basically looks at 10 cards on your deck, and then he makes a troop. I think it's a behemoth or something. It basically he makes a rock elemental, which with power and toughness equal to the number of shards that get shown. So he can make something usually between the power and toughness of like 4 to 7, somewhere in there. I mean, I guess if you went crazy, he could make a 10/10, but I mean
that doesn't happen very often.
I wouldn't think that's going to happen very often. He is running kind of another Ruby Wild deck, similar to something I was thinking of doing for a while. He's running the Phil Cape. Again, I'm glad to see that people are starting to finally play this card, because I thought it was just so good for quite some time. I was running a playset of these for a while, but I think 2 is probably more or less where you want to be at with it. He's also running the Heat Wave. That's another one that I was running in the last couple tournaments when I was running Ruby Wild. That just didn't show up at the right times to deal with the Gorefeast decks, but yeah, and he's running a much lower curve though than what I was running. He's got the Cluckadon, which I think actually is another card that probably needs to see a little bit more play. It's really, really bad for your opponent to bounce a Cluckadon, because I mean, they just gain more life off of it, and you get your a couple of points of damage, and it just doesn't seem like it's worth it unless you have Gorefeast in hand.
I really wish Cluckadon killed more things, though. Like, there's not a whole lot that they can actually fight with.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of amazing quality 1-drops besides, like, the Ancestors Chosen that are seeing play. I mean, I can't think of something else that's really... I mean, I guess now that Wild is a thing, Succulent Cluckadon can kill Resource Dorks. It can kill those guys, and that's about it.
Graves and Gas Trolls,
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kills Gas Troll no matter how big he is. No, it doesn't, because it fights him. So,
it fights him,
So the Gas Troll could actually get out of range of Succulent Cluckadon. Very easily. So, but very interesting deck. Pretty quick with the Lord Alex if he's on the table, and then he's got the Mentor of Oakenge to help him block a lot of that stuff in the Gorefeast deck to maybe trade and then get the Oakenge so he can search out for his Master Moss or his Cluckadon or even his Root Father.
The other things I like about this deck is that Lord Alex with Phil Cape, like normally Phil Cape and Inspire guys, like they don't get along very well, but Lord Alex totally does, because it only matters that one turn that it has speed. After that, it's going to be able to attack the rest of the game anyway, so if you remove the speed from it, it's no big deal. And where a lot of other decks were playing Eye of Creation last weekend with Squire's deck, he basically subbed in Burn to the Ground instead, to just, rather than try to find a bunch of dudes and maybe win the following turn, he just burns the ground and kills them right on the spot. And
you
that's
could
kind of
easily
what
do 10 damage with this. In a deck that's running, was this 12? It's a lot of shards. What is it? That's 25 shards. That's
and
a lot of shards.
4 Chlorophyllias too.
And 4 Chlorophylla. I mean, that's basically 29 shards, kind of. With the Chlorophylla. Is he running? He's not running anything else though.
He's got the Resource Dorks to kind of double up as extra copies of Burn to the Ground. In a sense, like they can, since they have speed and
the Root
does
Father,
damage. It potentially
16
comes
damage in one turn
damage
when it's unopposed. It's a lot of damage to the face. I think, didn't he also... No, he's not running it. He's not running... oh, he is running Boulder Toss. Yeah, he's got the Boulder Toss in there as well. Just more damage. More damage, more better. Of course, we all know that Phil Cape plus Master Moss is just amazing, because it just keeps resetting your Master Moss. It's ridiculous if you have that combo in play, so also a really good thing to have. Moving on to the final deck here before we start the deck doctor up. We were going to talk about finding a team, but we'll push that topic till next week. Tongue Kill is basically running the typical Gore Feast deck. Not seeing too many differences between this and the tournament winner from the Hextech Open, which was Meet the Future. Seems pretty standard to what we've seen before. This may be the best build, you know. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say what you were saying is, like, this is the one Gore Feast deck that made it to the top 8, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he's got Heroic Outlaw. I'm not sure how much play this guy's seen in there. He's got
really the only
verdicts.
The only thing I would say on best build is Fissuresmith is pretty good, and it's just not being played because it's been banned from most of the tournaments because it's really buggy right now. So I think we'll see Fissuresmith added in here somewhere along the lines in the main deck. But,
hopefully this season we'll get to play with Fissuresmith, and that will change things a lot. I do remember reading the person that said that they had the deck that countered Gore Feast, hard countered it, and they ran 4 Fissuresmith, and he was like, well, yeah. But you know, just like yeah, we'll talk about finding a team another time. We're gonna move on to the deck doctor here. So
Okay.
this deck is the one I should be on, which is one I just made. Azure M.O.L.E. Seismix. I forget. I think it might be an X, not a Z in that name. So I'll look it up. But he's winning. He's getting a draft pack for submitting this.
Sweet.
And we'll just start off with the Azurefate Sorceress. And so he said he wanted this to be a mill deck. So we want to put the mill gems in her, which I think is that a, let's see, the mill gem
major
is
sapphire.
a major. Okay. Subterfuge is, yeah, it's a major one. So we'll put Subterfuge in there. So we need to figure out what's the other shard we're going to go into as well, if we decide to go into another shard.
Okay.
I'm thinking
So.
Wild. Wild seems to be the best one when you're playing Azurefate Sorceress, just because she's kind of expensive.
I really like Ruby with Azurefate Sorceress, so that's just me.
We could
And that's
do-
actually for a different deck than this. Like, you know, if you're going with the mill, having the Ruby damage gem doesn't do you any good. So, but you could always come back and figure out what that gem is after the fact, I suppose.
You could do Subterfuge and then Major Ruby of Intensity. When they deal damage, they discard and draw.
Yeah.
I mean, but the other thing that seems to be the best way to go with Azurefate Sorceress is just give her Spell Shield.
Yeah.
Just
Spell
'cause
Shield, or potentially giving her +1/+1, because then everything is milling more, because it's based off the attack and the defense.
yeah.
I mean, I think you're probably still right with the Spell Shield deck.
Yeah, Spell Shield is probably the better one to have. I mean, I don't want to just build exactly what we just saw with Havoc's deck, though, either. That's the only issue I have with this.
Oh, you're talking off the top 8 deck list?
Yeah, I mean, it's if we do go into Wild. You're saying Ruby. I mean, we could try this Intensity thing.
Here, if I was going to give my 2 cents, like, so the restriction is that it's a mill-based deck that runs Azurefate, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so the mill gem's in there for sure, because that's like the requirement.
Yep.
I like personally going 5 colors with Azurefate and the mill gem, and then you put your good buddy Midnight Shepherd in there and try to mill something and get it back another way, and then when you get it back, that thing comes into play and mills them even more.
So we're basically going into Blood then.
Yeah, I mean, or you're probably still heavier in Sapphire than anything else.
Yeah, we're probably still heavy in Sapphire, but you have to go into Bloods, which means we'll pick up Extinction, and we'll just become a control deck mostly. Well, but we want to play things that are 4+. So that means we could play 4+. What's it called? The bug. Yeah, we could do that. I kind of like. I wish that was better. Could play anytime you play a quick action. That's like one of the worst options.
Yeah, that one's horrible. Another option is, so if you're using the gem, like obviously she's not going to mill them out on her own. So what is it that you're trying to inspire that's going to mill them, or what benefit are you going to get from milling them? And with the Midnight Shepherd, that case you're going more for getting a benefit from milling them. You're not actually killing them by doing so. In other cases, you could be playing something like Octh, which is one of my favorite cards, just because it has awesome art. And if you inspire that with the mill gem, it mills something like, I don't know, 14 cards or something when it comes into play.
Is it power and toughness?
Yeah, yeah.
So we could do Hatred, and then like when we play Inquisitors, then they get Rage 1. I mean, that seems pretty cool. What were you saying that you wanted to do for the Miner?
Oh, on Azurefate?
Yeah.
I think with the Miner, I would just figure out what the rest of the deck was first and come back to it.
Okay. Let's do that. We're definitely with a card like this, we want to play a troops that bounce that can take the Inspire, so we have to play Inquisitor. Inquisitor is actually a lot cheaper than what it used to be, so it shouldn't be quite so bad these days. And of course, we'll probably run the typical gem in there where it basically reduces the power and toughness.
if you're talking about running Inquisitor alongside Azurefate,
Mm-hmm.
I like running Wakizashi Ambusher instead because then it'll automatically come in to play the next turn after Azurfate's in play, and you're not kind of stuck with a whole bunch of 4-cost dudes in your
That's
hand
true.
where you have to do them like turn after another. You kind of set yourself up.
Yeah, I definitely still run at least one though.
Yeah,
You know, because it's one of those that you can. It gets a lot of value when you can
you
replay
get
it.
your
So,
toolbox out of it.
yeah. Okay, so we'll give it that brutality gem, and then we'll take it down to like 2 for now. I think that'll be good, and then we'll play the playset of Ambusher because that makes sense. We'll play probably Ambusher, and we'll probably play the Reese the Crustcrawler. Probably play 2 of those.
Oh yeah, there you go.
It does a similar thing, you know.
I love Reese and Azurefate. Like that's such a fun one to do.
So even though these cards are up in the 5-6 range, they're actually 2-cost cards because
Yeah.
that's most of the time we're going to cast them for. So we do have to keep that in mind when we're looking at the deck and the curve. There would be very few times when I would ever want a really hard cast Reese. It would have to be a really bad situation.
Yeah,
Because, you know, just putting in little like robots doesn't really
help
tickle
you a
my
lot.
fancy. I guess I don't even have to like. We're looking at all the shards, aren't we? So we can actually
Potentially, yeah.
go with whatever. So that means we're playing.
So are we going 5 colors then with this? Is that
sure, let's
is that
do
the
it.
thing?
Let's do it up. Let's go.
Okay,
nuts.
so if you're going 5 colors, you got to stick Midnight Shepherd in there.
Yeah, midnight. I don't want to go too expensive with this, so we're not going to go crazy like wild or anything.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably want to play at least 2 Lixil.
Yeah, that seems pretty fair.
You know, at least 2 of this. This is going to fix you. Whenever you're playing 5 shard decks, you definitely want a Lixil in there. I did play against one person that was playing this, and they played like Soul Marble. I don't think that's too bad if we just play 1.
Sure.
Soul.
And that works really well with the Azurefate since it buffs them. They're going to mill for even more.
Yeah, I mean, just playing 1, and I know this is an expensive card. It's not too bad these days. Trying to, you know, I know that we have a lot of viewers
we're
that are
building
like,
a really expensive deck here, actually.
Yeah, we are kind of building an expensive. Where are we at? We're at $37 already. Really sorry about this. Okay.
Look what
else
you
can we
you
put
can
in
blame
here?
me on that one. I was the one who was so insistent on Midnight Shepherd.
I don't know if we want to ramp or anything,
No, I don't think you need to.
or play. I do like playing a lot of things that tunnel though, and then pop up, and then they get buffed. I like that idea though. Let's see what other things we got that might be good to tunnel that could pop up and get the buff. They have to cost 4+. So let's go with 4, 5, 6. So Spy is a pretty obvious choice here.
Yeah, Spy's pretty good.
So we'll put 4 in there for now. It's going to be a really weird one. We've got Launchpad Specialist would be maybe as a 1 of, maybe. We'll just put it in there
I don't think you really need-
preliminarily.
Yeah.
I mean, what you think it's pretty bad?
Well, I was gonna say like you're not really getting a whole lot of benefit off the flight. You know?
Yeah. We'll take him out. I mean, we got Burrow Bunny, Excavation Bot's pretty bad. Excavation Hulk. Actually, Excavation Bot is... This might be interesting with all these tunnelers. If we run all tunnelers,
Yeah.
Excavation Bot might actually be not that bad.
Yeah.
Because it could excavate, especially because we can play Reese, and then the following turn if we play Excavation Bot, he comes out a lot sooner. So maybe that could be a thing, maybe. If we play like a lot of tunnelers, then I kind of want to play at least 1 Launchpad Specialist and like an Excavation Hulk. Although I'm not sure if I want to play Burrow Bunny just because its back end is only 1.
Yeah. What are you gonna do with it?
I mean, it's just kind of like all the tunnelers. All the single ladies, all the tunnelers. That was pretty bad.
So we have a no comment. So we have a lot of troops. Like, what about actions and stuff?
Yeah, we need to get some sort of actions. So we have 32 cards already built into the deck with a ton of tunnelers. This is going to be like a guess what's happening now. Especially
Guess what's in the box? Yeah.
Yeah. I think the other thing that's nice about this deck, though, is that we are running these... Right now we've got all these artifacts in there, and we're going to be running 5 colors.
I feel like you got to put Agent of M.O.L.E in here. Like, it doesn't really fit, doesn't get inspired.
Banned right now? Is he still banned?
No, I don't think he is.
Thought he was for some reason.
Well, let's see. That's my fancy forum icon for being in charge of the bugs, is I got Agent of M.O.L E as my art. But also, so he doesn't get inspired by Azurefate, but he does put a whole bunch of bombs in their deck, and when those get milled, they're dead.
That's true. That does make sense. You're making a lot of sense right now. I like it.
And it's more tunneled, guys, which is kind of what we're doing.
Yeah, it's just another, surprise. Supplies!
Golden Saucer saying he was banned in the last event.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate. Yeah, there's something broken with him, I think.
He's a lot of fun, though.
He is a lot of fun. Tectonic Megahulk? Why not, like, one of this? It also
for him, you need, like, robots and stuff in play, right? That's his thing.
It started turns, it's underground. This is tunneling one for each dwarf and robot. We got lots of dwarves and robots. This is a perfect card for us.
And you could actually run Bertram totally fine. If you have Reese, like, hey, why not
Why don't we just run 4 Tectonic Megahulks? Why don't we just do this? Is getting to be a pretty fun deck right now. I'm really impressed with this right now. How this is turning out. Reese. Or are you saying not Reese, we want Bertram. Yeah, we probably, at this point, we kind of want to run Bertram. He's going to give us some nice blockers.
And eventually, maybe even random robots.
So, other things I like to run, I guess we're kind of running just a lot of troops, so probably not Zodiac Divination. We can go ahead and run the counter magic in here for now. I'm not sure how many we would run.
We also could
we probably wouldn't run counter magic main. We might run it in the reserves because of the double threshold.
At this point, too, I think there's like another angle where we could go where we could just drop the whole 5-color plan and just go for this kind of fun tunneling deck with the Azurefate instead.
That may be better. I feel like the tunneling may be better. Yeah, because then we can get rid of so many things. Like we get rid of Soul Marble, Lixil, and then Midnight Shepherd. And
those are pretty loose for us.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and pull those. I'm really liking this tunneling. The way this is developing right now.
Sure.
And I love Reese the Crustcrawler. I kind of want to play him. This deck hasn't top 16s, by the way, so no one can tell me to play this deck in the next open. Okay? Just want to put that out there. Let's see. What can we play? I guess we're basically diamonds. We're just straight Sapphire, or we're Blood Sapphire right now. We're Blood Sapphire. We can still run Extinction in here. It's not a bad idea, at least to have them. We'll put them in the reserves, I guess.
I know you were trying not to make it too costly, but now if we're just going on the tunneling stuff and we are still running the burrow guys, like, you know, Monsoon is kind of a thing.
Well, he just feels so clunky. I think people tried and tried, and like when he works, it's like amazing, and then when he doesn't, it's like, well, that is embarrassing.
You know what my piece of advice would be on that is Monsoon. A lot of people playing him mistakenly burrow him. Like they should just play him from their hand and start swinging in with him.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, people want to get the coolness to happen where it is that he's bringing stuff back, but I mean he's basically a 5/3 because on the attack he's going to get that rage too, and it's just one of those things that your opponent has to trade with or kill immediately.
Yeah, he puts some damage for sure.
So, yeah, I mean he's good. We'll put him in there, but like you guys, I don't know. I'm not even really feeling him. The big thing is he's a shin hair, and we're kind of like we're going robots, kind of also. So that also is kind of a strike against him, especially if we're going to run 4 Tectonic Megahulks, which are pretty cheap. I'm guessing. No, actually they're pretty expensive. Wow, $4 for these things. Wow, this is a $50 deck right now. Really sorry about that, by the way. I kind of really like this. This whole idea is like Fate Sorceress. After everything's tunneled, and you play her, and then they start coming into play, and then things start happening. I really like that, and then hopefully control the board state before then. So we really need to put in some I think we may actually have to play with Extinction.
Yeah, either Extinction or like Buccaneer. And actually Buccaneer, like Buccaneering your own dude and then replaying it
Replaying
after Azurefate, it happens every once in a while. And I've been playing like a lot of stuff similar to this in PvE, and let me tell you, stuff like this does really well in PvE. So it might not be the best deck to take into a tournament, but yeah, you're gonna get a lot of wins. In which case,
I wouldn't try this next week unless you really spend a lot of time tooling it properly.
while we're talking about tooling it, other cards which are pretty awesome in here is Warbot Dropship and Menacing Grolk. Like the Dropship, all the dudes that it creates are inspired by Azurefate because they cost 4, and oh, then you're really talking.
Why not? Why not? Shardless. We can do it as like a one of. The big problem is with this dropship is we have no real great way to get to it. Like it.
Yeah, no, you don't.
I don't. Yeah, I can't justify it. Maybe in the reserves. We'll put one in the reserves for you. But
Okay.
I can't justify playing that unless it's a control matchup where it's like Blood Diamond control.
Yeah.
Or Mono Blood control.
Did we put Verdict or Counter Magic in here?
We put Counter Magic in the reserves because we were still 5 color at the time,
Yeah.
so that actually can move.
And having like Verdict in there seems pretty good too. Like, because you need some way to survive the early turns of the game. If somebody landed like an Eye of Creation on you, you're just probably dead on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah, unless you Extinction in the following turn, and they can't, and the things they got happen to not be immune to
die to
extinction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of things in the wild realm now that are very resilient versus Extinction. So, which is why I was running a one of Dishonorable Death last weekend. But that came at the wrong times. Well, no, actually, you know what? I don't know that I saw it all day, actually. Or no, yeah, I did. I saw it against the robots player, and robots are immune to it.
Sure.
Oh, gosh. We want Verdict. Now, so with Verdict, typically cards like this in other card games that I played, like a lot of times this is more like a 2 of type of card. I did try playing 4 of. I don't know.
Yeah, I even in like the heavy control decks I've been running lately, I haven't been running 4 copies of Verdict. At least not in the main deck. Like, I'll have the 4th copy in the reserves, and if I feel like I need it, I can bring it in. Otherwise, I'll take the copies out because it's against a deck where I just don't hit anything relevant, kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, let's not go crazy with the Mega Hulks. I think that's an easy cut. I can take these down to 2.
Yeah, I think you're good there.
Excavation Hulk is just a 4/4 body, so it's kind of vanilla, so we can definitely get rid of those.
Yeah.
Let's see, we're at 36 cards. Our 2-point range is actually massive. It just doesn't look like it is.
I would probably only play like 3 spies, maybe.
Yeah, spies. Yeah, we'll take that down to 3, as the typical Gore Feast players do. We're actually back down to 35 cards. We have some space where we could buff Murder or put some more removal in there. Or actually, we could probably put those Buccaneers in there you were talking about. So we haven't put those in here yet. Buccaneer. Yeah, someone was in the main chat channel the other day, and they were like, "I'm going to play humans. What should I do?" And I was like, "You need Buccaneer."
Yep.
It's like the best thing you can start with.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun humans out there too. You can play with Colin. You can play with the ones that create all the pets. You can play with. Oh,
yeah, I kind of wanted a pet deck to do pretty well, but yeah, it feels like the pet. Unfortunately, a lot of the pet cards cost like 4, and so that's just a bit too much.
I'm surprised we haven't seen more from that Mama Bear card because that one's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I agree. I kind of want to play 4 Buccaneer in here, but then again, I don't know if I do. So the cool thing about Buccaneer is, like, if you can't replay the card in this deck, you can just tunnel it again.
Yep.
Which is, like, the coolest thing. So we may actually want to get 4 of those and, like, the typical 2 or 3, whatever the other one is.
Time Ripple.
Time Ripple. Yeah, the typical Time Ripple goodness.
And at least if we're talking about PvE here, I've totally had times where I Buccaneered and just bounced the Buccaneer I just played so that it would go up to 4 costs and I could play it again and get the Azurefate onto it and do all kinds of shenanigans.
I think we want the 4 of Excavation Bot because that's kind of a big deal when we're trying to get like Reese out soon or like Tectonic Megahulk.
The bummer is if you bring out the Agent of M.O.L.E, it doesn't get its like charge counters if you bring it out early.
Yeah.
But you know, you start swinging in sooner, so you start putting the stuff back in there at the same speed you would have otherwise.
Let's see, what do we got? We got 41 cards now, so we need to take this down a bit. Maybe take Inquisitor down to 1. We'll probably make a lot of price choices right now. We're going to take Megahulk down to 1. I think
What's the price at right now, anyways?
For Megahulk, it's $4 apparently.
Or, no, for the deck.
Oh, for the deck itself, $55.
Cool. Probably, yeah, it's those extinctions, which...
Yeah, I mean, we can take Extinction down to maybe 2. It's another one that's nice to answer a lot of things, but like we talked about earlier, maybe Extinction in this format is just really bad with the glut of Gore Feast, Gore Storm, because turn 4 is a key turn, and you need to be able to counter, not necessarily Extinction. You need to be able to counter Gore Feast, and the way that they're playing that deck now is Subterranean Spy is looking at that counter in your hand, and they're like, nope, not time, nope, not time, and they'll just do damage to you instead.
Either that or the turn that they Gore Feast, they just happened to put 2 speed guys into play, one that came out of tunneling, one from the champion power, and they killed you even after you board wiped them. So that's my thing. I'd rather play the direct removal and the counters and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I guess what we could do is run Sorrow in here, because I don't think it touches the Ambushers and the Inquisitors.
Nah.
The nice thing is that it kills the Inquisitor, but it doesn't debuff the Inquisitor, so you can't replay it. It just does it for the turn.
We never put the minor gem back into the Azurefate though.
Yeah, we haven't figured out what that's going to be, so we need to figure that out. We've got about 3 minutes left in the episode, so and we need to get our resource curve. Because this shouldn't be too bad, I think, where we're at. So let's figure out. Let's see, that's a 2-drop. Let's see, all our 5 drops are. We got 5 of them. 3 are Subterranean Spies. The other one's Reese. So those are actually 2 drops. So I'm just counting up all the 2 drops right now to get the proper curve. So that's 6, and then so that's 6 more in the 2-drop range. So we actually don't. We have 5 plus 6 would be 11 2-drops. 4 drops Xenthoth, the 2 Extinction. Excavator Bot is not, so that's actually 4 more 2-drops. I mean, there's a ton of 2-drops in here, and then the Azurefate. So that's actually 4, 5, 6, 7, and then Ambusher.
Yeah, you're just investing in your late. If
anything, you may even be able to play this on 22 shards, honestly, because there's just so many 2-drops in here.
Yeah, you're not really playing any expensive cards besides the Azurefate. I guess is the highest cost. That and the Inquisitor.
Yeah. Oh, $3 is not bad for it, yeah, because that's almost the cost. I mean, that's more than a pack of cards. Like, typically, I start at the cost of a pack of cards for the rare, because a lot of times that's what you would pay. You're basically paying for the rare. Anything above that means that it's being played and it's pretty good, and then usually if it's not being played and it's not good, it'll dip down below that until it becomes a bulk rare, and you know, it's one of those where you just trade as many of them away as you can because nobody wants them. So I think we'll just stick with this. I just need to get the resources built for it. So let's go ahead and go shard. So for this one also, I don't know that we actually need that many, like, that much fixing. So we may not actually need to play Shards of Fate in here like I typically do every week. It seems like every week. I mean, if you're going to run Shards of Fate in here at all, plus your Shards of...
I don't think you need it.
Whatever. You probably play 1 if you're going to run it at all, but I don't think you need it. So let's go ahead and just throw some... Let's throw this Sapphire Shard in there for now. Where's the other one? Here it is, Shard of Cunning. We definitely want to place some of those. And then we want the Blood Shard. I have to spell blood correctly to get it to show up. Spelling is important. Aaron Squire says it. Stay in school, kids. Okay, so let's do a count on the deck. So do the deck analysis draw test. So 26 Sapphire. So we're deep in Sapphire and not that much blood here. So we'll probably go with something like a 2-3 split. So probably, what have we got? Like, let's see if we have 10 of those. That makes 14. We have 8 more slots. That should be fine. Something like that. Or actually, it would be 9. I think I want 8 blood shards. I don't think I need that many blood shards. Maybe 8, 11. Yeah, that should be fine, right? So yeah, like 11 sapphire and 8 blood. The only problem that I'm seeing, you may want to go back up on blood just because you've got double threshold Inquisitor and then double threshold Extinction. But you don't have that many. You've got 2, 3 double threshold cards in blood. So I don't know. I don't think that you would.
I think you're pretty safe.
I think you're pretty safe with this, and you really, really, really want that sapphire shard. So this should be an interesting one to try out. Azurefate Sorceress, we should probably give her probably the sky one to fly. I mean, that seems like the best one. Yeah, because quick action doesn't make any sense.
And giving like
in an effort not to break Errant Squire's bank for this contest, here's how we're going to do this. I've got 20 packs of set 2 to give away, and I'll give away 1 primal. So I still want you to post on this video that basically the deck you want me to play has to be a top 16 deck, and I have to do well with it. I do not want to have any favoritism either, so it'll be a random people will randomly get the packs if they pick a deck that I'm winning with, basically. So if that's the deck, if the majority rules deck is the one that I am doing well with, I have to do at least 5 wins and 3 losses to give away prizes, and they'll be randomly given out. I've got 20 packs, so I'll give away 1 of those packs to, up to 20 packs, and then I've got an additional primal, so that's 21 packs to give out. So last time I did this, people kind of went crazy, and it was good. I did pay everybody out, but I want to make sure I'm not going to break the bank and I'm not overestimating again. So that's the way we're going to play it this time. So make sure to comment on what deck you'd like to see me play next week at the Hex Tex Open, and that's the deck that I'll play. So until next time, this is Aaron Squire signing off, saying God bless you and your families. Trying to rage too much out there.